So on China a bit, right? This government's on kind of a back foot because it won't tell us any reality. News has it that we have had one fatality. In fact, the MP, member of parliament from Arunachal of the BJP said that six were critically injured and taken to Guwahati. This is part of record. But what disturbs me, and if this one fatality is confirmed true, what worries me is that what has happened to the Indian army? Because previously, every time an Indian soldier was killed, he was ceremoniously wrapped in the tricolor. The country knew about the sacrifice, and he went home. And if this has not happened, it really, really is a deliberating act by the senior chiefs of the army and the government who's forced them to do this. But a little bit about China. China, everybody blames on Nehru and Tibet. Let's take it back a little bit. If you want to go back in history, Tibet was given essentially to China to control because the British felt that the bigger threat was Russia or the USSR, the Big Red, and they felt that China and Tibet would form a buffer against possible invasions Russia. Everybody felt everybody was coming to India at that time, right? So let's just go back a bit on this one, and if you look at those times, the foreign office of the British in Hong Kong got a better toehold, had a lot more to say. The British office looking after India didn't get its say because they had their own position on Tibet. Hong Kong had its own position on Tibet, and eventually Hong Kong won, right? So there you have it. Hospital estimates 5.4 million COVID positive in Shanghai as it readies for battle. It expects 50% of its of its population to get infected, and it's crazy. The crematoriums are crazy. India, China talk Ladakh days after Tawang clash. Just remember, talk is all talk. They don't do anything else but talk. But this is what Mao said: you keep talking, you keep fighting, you keep talking, you keep fighting. I don't understand when we will ever understand that. No progress on Ladakh impasse in talks. No word on Arunachal. Any surprise? Absolutely not. But things are getting bad. For the Communist Party, what unrest, anger in China cities reveal, it says by Manoj Keval Ramani, he says a radically networked society has been created to protest the zero COVID policy, but the path to peace appears complex with a smooth exit from the state coercive COVID policy highly unlikely. In some instances, protesters have gone beyond simply demanding an end to lockdowns and mass testing to call for freedom, respect for universal values, and for Xi Jinping to step down. As hearses queue at China morgues, WHO cautions COVID-19 emergency not over yet. PC rakes up Chinese incursion in RS during debate on appropriation bill. Treasury bench says PC digressing become aggressive. He raises Modi-Xi Bali handshake. Yeah, it was like I was sick to the stomach, right? And somebody says that the EAM and the PMO knows what they're doing. I absolutely don't think so. Talk is not a policy. India pressuring China to de-escalate, says EAM. That means it is escalated. So, they're talking double, twin tongues, right? China is raising LAC heat as part of a plan. Remember this. Shruti Pandalal says Indian military planners often describe China's actions along the LAC as conforming to Chairman Mao's stratagem of Da Da Tan Tan. Means the idea being that China talks not because of an actual desire to reach a solution, but as a tactic to gain time, be deceptive, and send a strong message to third parties. Beijing's end goal doesn't change, so offering to talk doesn't imply fighting stops. And where are you, Jay Shankar? All of us intelligent people, understand that. But, the intelligence quotient, folks. Galwan to Tawang, writes General P.R. Shankar. Latest incident seems part of a well-planned Chinese strategy to change the status quo on line of control. Remember that. These reports also indicate that the Indian army retaliated strongly, helped by prompt reinforcement, and sent the PLA packing despite being outnumbered. Injuries have been sustained by soldiers on both sides, with the PLA suffering more. The PLA's attempt to seize an Indian army post in the thick of winter, when routine troop turnover was in process, indicates a pre-planned operation to expand a window of opportunity. The total consolidation of power and control over the PLA by Xi Jinping means that the Tawang incident was not the outcome of local initiative. The operation could only have been conceived at the highest level in China. It seems, therefore, that the LAC is being used as a pressure point by China as well as to send a larger international message. The chances of immediate military action against Taiwan are low. In contrast, military action along the LAC with India can be undertaken at a time and place of China's choice with fewer resources and calibrated for maximum effect, with an exit option available if the political risks are low. Therefore, in my assessment, India is a greater priority for China from a military perspective. Hear that. Reports indicate that the Chinese are geared up for escalation in terms of firepower, resources, communications, command and control, and infrastructure. Locally and in the larger strategic spectrum, are we fully prepared for such a challenge? More than the rhetoric of retaking POK, India needs to rethink national security and focus holistically on the clear and present threat that is China. There seems to be no cognate plan for firepower enhancement. The difference between the PLA and Indian troops is evident in the incident. It should force us to rethink the ill-planned Agnipath scheme on an emergency basis. And that, you folks, is hallelujah. Because here you have Jabin T. Jacob, right? Connect the dots. The flare-up at Tawang marks shortcoming of Delhi's diplomacy with Beijing. He says the following year in September, what he says is, if there is one lesson that can be drawn from India's experience with Chinese transgressions over the last decade or so, is that the Chinese seem to set the pace on the nature and timing of these transgressions, and we are always defensive. He says BJP's president of its Arunachal Pradesh unit, Tapit Gao, stated that 6 Indian soldiers severely injured and flown to Guwahati. Like I told you folks, and here you have it in paper. It is pointed out that the India used the interim to build up better infrastructure of its own along the LAC. The question can still be asked about what use such build-up was if China was able to surprise Indian planners with the transgressions of 2020. It could be argued further that the subsequent resolution achieved over several rounds of military talks between the two sides, which appear to institutionalize a system of buffer zones, even if these lie across both sides of LAC, actually undermine the advantage of India's infrastructure build-up more than they do China's build-up. And there you have it, folks. That is the reality. The buck should get up. All these friends of mine who think the EM is doing a great job, you remember, Nehru was not at fault for intent. He actually went after Chinese territory that he thought was his own. In this case, we have given up the territory that is ours, or we think is ours, to China, to just please them and for commerce. Nothing else, as this article suggests, because we've really not gained anything from either the buffer zones or the time that we've had on our side. Jai Hind.